Hi, today is a fun lesson. I'm not there with you. I am sitting home preparing this video for you before I leave. What we're going to do is we're actually going to examine a rule of thumb. As I mentioned before, I'm very interested in these rules of thumb that are used in medicine, but they're also often used in forensic science. And so there's a rule of thumb to determine time of death using a body temperature. So we always see this in Law and Order or any kind of CSI type show where the cops come in and the medic tells them, well, I can't give you better than this. They've been dead 10 hours, whatever. She gives them a time frame. And I wondered, where did this has to be math. Where does it come from? So looking around, you'll find on the internet that there is a rule of thumb where 1 hour after the body cools, it cools at a rate of 1.5 degrees per hour. So what I'd like you to do first is to apply this rule of thumb to determine how many hours, what the temperature would be, and link it to hours after death. So just to give you an idea how this would work, you would fill in here in the first time slot 98.6 because the dropping starts 1 hour after the first hour. So after the first hour, I would drop that 98.6 by 1.5 degrees and I get 97.1. And then continue on the table. I think I have up to 10 hours, but I'd like you to continue this on to at least 20 hours. It doesn't take long to fill it out. If you go to your worksheet, you will see that filling this out, you have some questions after that. For example, once you have this table filled, you can answer the question of where you took a body temperature of an individual and suppose you knew that they were 80 degrees. You can go back to this table, which you're going to put on a separate sheet of paper, and look at when you actually hit 80 degrees and link it up to the time or the hours after death. And this is how they're coming up with the hours that have passed since the body has been dead. I would also like you to consider the hours after death as X values and the temperature as the Y values and plot this. When you plot this, you're going to get a graph. I want you to ask if this graph is reasonable. So, for example, extend the graph and look at the graph if it's going to be reasonable 3 days from now. So look at the limitations of this graph and ask yourself, poke at it, ask yourself if it makes any sense. And this is absolutely what we do in medicine. We look at these rules of thumb and we ask ourselves, are they reasonable? And you'll be surprised. Even things that are on the Surgeon General's website are not necessarily correct. And it's just because nobody had the audacity to look at it yet and suggest that it might not be correct. So look at this graph and ask yourself, what could the limitations be? All right, so that's your directive for the first half. If you have any questions or you want me to play this again, you can look at the video it's already on our playlist, or you can ask Mr. Dines to play it on the main screen.